What's going on, guys? Today I am going to be showing you how to fully AFK Helwyr with little to no input. First off, I would probably get Alt 1 and make a timer for animate dead, and maybe even if your overload like completely runs out, which means your reservoir is gone, make a timer for that too, because if your animate dead or overload drops, it's an insta-death basically. So as you can see on screen right now, these are the minimum requirements that you need to do this. First off is 95 prayer for curses, and then 99 invention. This is just kind of a rough number where you can still make some of the higher tier ancient invention perks with a supreme invention potion, or extreme invention potion I mean. But you obviously don't need 120 to get here. You maybe would just lose a few of the like best in slot perks. That's no big deal. You're also going to need the City and Temple of Seniston quests for some of the spells and prayers. And then you're going to need 99 Herblore. 99 Herblore is the minimum to get to level 107, or is it 108, for Elder Overload Salves. And I have found the Elder Overload Salves are 100% worth it here, just so you can like AFK completely. Without Salves, you have to drink like prayer pots and whatever occasionally. And this is so you can fully AFK. And then you're also going to need 95 or so magic and defense, just so you can, wear good weapons and armor. So this is the inventory and gear that I used. You can see there's an Inquisitor staff and a Staff of Slisk with two different sets of perks on it. You can use dual wields. However, if you're using dual wields, I would probably want to have Greater Concentrated Blast. You can see the gear we're using is Ganodermic. I find Ganodermic works almost better than higher tier armors because with the penance powder that we're using, you kind of want to take as much damage as you can without dying. And Ganodermic allows you to take a lot of damage while still soul splitting all of it back. But then you get more prayer point regen than with something like Crypt Bloom, for example. If you don't have a Zuck cape, you can just use like a Kiln cape or any other cape really. Just don't have Omnipower on your bar. And then for the God book, a Book of Wen is probably the best. Otherwise, I would use a Jazz book or a Sarah book, just something really cheap to use if you don't have a Wen book. So these are the perks on my armor you can see here. We have Crackling Relentless. This is really strong if you have the Zuck cape, but without the Zuck cape, it's not necessary. I also have a Biting 4, which you could go lower than this, like Biting 2 would be fine. I have Absorbative 4. This perk is really good for this. You want to reduce the damage as much as possible, but still taking enough to regen the prayer. And I've found with Absorbative, even if you get like bad hits, so your soul splits are bad, or you get hit really hard for some reason, the Absorbative generally will save you in those scenarios, so you don't just like die. And then I just have an Impatient 4 as an extra perk. So on to some of the absolutely necessary things you're going to have to do to make this work. First off, we have Animate Dead. Like I was saying, if this drops, you'll probably just die. So you definitely need Animate Dead up at all times. Next up is the Powder of Penance. This stuff is really strong. It's like having a Penance aura active all the time, which is incredibly useful, especially for something like this where we're AFKing. It's just insane. Like, I feel like people should know about this because it's so strong. But the Powder of Penance plus the prayer regen from the Elder Overload Salve makes it so you never need any prayer regen outside of these two things. So it's just fully AFK the whole time. And then you're obviously going to need potion reservoirs and salves, and you put the salve in the potion reservoir. I also like to use the Lantidime incense sticks for the Elder Overload Salve. I also, whenever I see that the Weapon Poison +++ wears off, I just reapply that, and it makes those last even longer, and especially when you're using salves or really expensive overloads, the Lantidime incense sticks will save you money in the long run. It'll also save you a bunch of time where you're not making overloads, I guess. So that's really strong as well, and I would for sure use that. You are also going to need a Blood Reaver. And then the scrolls in your inventory. So the scrolls don't actually do anything if they're in the Blood Reaver, but it will just sit there and cast like 400 an hour. And they don't do anything. So you definitely just want to keep these in your inventory, but the Blood Reaver is insane here. For whatever reason, the Blood Reaver makes your weapon poison go crazy. So when you have weapon poison plus and Cinderbanes and Quorum Sticks active, this pet will just spam out poison hits because it hits 4 times every tick sometimes. Usually it'll hit like 2 to 4 times a tick. And then the scrolls, it's just like a unicorn with its scrolls, so you can heal yourself if anything goes wrong at like the end of a kill. You just heal yourself back up with a few scrolls. And then there are a few auras that I would say are usable here. Obviously the first one is going to be Vampirism. If you're using Vamp, you can get away with Exsanguinate to get that extra 12% damage on your basics. But if you don't have Vampirism, you can use a Bloodburst, or I guess Barrage would work too, with any of the auras you see here, like Dark Magic, Majorat, Supreme Invigorate, anything like that, and you can get away without Vampirism. It's not recommended, it's a little bit sketchy sometimes, but in the clip that I will show you after this, I have a pet in my inventory for like 20 minutes without a Vampirism aura. I'm not on Vampirism aura and I'm just fully AFK. So it obviously works pretty well, and if anything does go wrong at the end of a kill, you just use some scrolls and you should be good to go. So guys, as you can see here, this is how I usually start an instance. So I activate my aura, get everything running, especially the Anime Dead and Overload, and then I just go in, so rejoin last instance, and then you go on this specific tile in between these 2 circles on the floor. On this little curve here, you just go on this specific tile, put on your prayers, and then activate your penance powder. And that's pretty much it. Now your character is ready to go forever. So you just activate your weapon poison. So on the screen now, you'll be able to see the action bar that I'm using. If you don't have the Zuck cape, take Omnipower off and you can replace it with any basic you want, or just move everything back 1 square. Once Helwyr dies, you'll have to manually loot the drops, but usually you can kill 2 to 3 Helwyrs before you have to actually loot it, otherwise the drop will disappear after that. But you should be able to leave this account logged in until it lobbies if you need to, and it shouldn't have a problem as long as you make sure that all the buffs are active before you leave.